phone, right?
Yes, yes.
Is it coming? Devoe is coming in.
No, he's gonna join us.
Yeah.
So
Smooth 98.1, love music, love alive. This is a Freshly Pressed with me, Zibby, this morning. And I've got my analyst joining me as well. I've got Devoe and Olakunle. Good morning.
hi,
Good morning, Lagos.
Good morning, Zibby. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here again.
Echo election.
Echo elections. Okay, Devoe. All right. Well, as always, we love you to be a part of the conversation. The WhatsApp number is 0809 4440981. And you can also tweet at smooth981. The hashtag is freshly pressed 981. And we're going on to the page of the Vanguard. Northern Christian elders raise alarm over worsening insecurity. Now, NOSEF has condemned in strong terms the increasing targeting and killing of clerics and others. And they're calling on the government to beef up security in the region ahead of the general elections. Devoe?
Hi. Okay. As with every election season comes the what I call it political activity, which sometimes is never nice. It becomes harsh. It becomes highly politicized, and it follows with it's accompanied with violence. And in this instance, the Northern Christian Elders Forum, they've raised alarm over the worsening insecurity going on, especially within the northern region of the country, which they believe can lead to the disenfranchisement of voters. And that's a big word. That just basically means that at the end of the day, elections will not take place successfully, and people would not be able to have their say. Now, they've said that for some time now, they've noticed the various presence of various politicians. As you know, many of the candidates have been campaigning in various locations where they believe to garner votes. And as we know, the North, Northeast, North Central, and Northwest are rich with votes. I think starting from the highest in the Northwest with 22 million to about, 16 million in the Northeast. Now, they've said that they're urging Nigerians and politicians not to spark off a lot of intolerance, which comes by way of people who are trying to vote by the electorate also, despite the fact that they intend to collect money, despite the fact that they intend to push their what they refer to as ill-gotten money, right? That all these antics and moves should not lead them into any violent activity, because at the end of the day, there seems to be a lot of sentiment along the religious aspect in terms of whether you're voting for a Christian or a Muslim, or whether you're voting for a certain ethnicity. They're urging people to pick up their PVCs and ensure that they can vote for themselves. Now, this was not helped by the fact that I think about last week, Reverend Father Achi was burnt alive in Niger State by some terrorists who also shot his assistant. In another attack on the 15th of January, which is almost, I think that was this week as well, 25 people were kidnapped from a church service. And literally this has gone on and on and on. Now, you know how volatile Nigeria is in terms of religious and ethnic issues. The truth is, it is squarely an issue for the security forces to look into. What I would advise voters as well as religious bodies to do is to take on the, what I call it, the terrorist prevention protocols that we all had to engage in when insurgency was at an all-time high. Because the truth is, at this point in time, you don't have enough security to go around. What do you call it? As we near elections, there will be reasons and people who believe they have a motive to foist their say in a violent manner. So it's better to be precautious. It's better to take a precaution and ensure that you are not caught up in the violence, because at the end of the day, there will not be enough security to be able to go around. So it's better to be wise. But one thing is sure, do not say because of the violence that the elections will not take place. That is the reason many of these clandestine folks intend to do. So I feel for those who have lost their lives, but we must ensure that this election holds and that the people at the end of the day have the say.
Okay, so let's move on to Punch. Subsidy, federal government borrowing to import fuel, says Minister. The government has also confirmed that there's a possibility of a global economic recession this year, but they've stressed that Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves are healthy enough to withstand the shock. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, had disclosed this on Tuesday, yesterday, on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos.
The statements say the minister was quoted to have made, as written in this report. I've read it like 3 times trying to understand what it means. Now, the understanding I have really is this. Let me read it again. Let me read it out loud so that it's clear what I'm trying to, whether I'm wrong or I'm right. Now, the minister was said to have said that the federal government at some point had to borrow funds to buy premium motor spirits, popularly called petrol, despite the huge subsidy spending on the commodity. Now, I've looked at that. Does it mean that aside from the subsidy which they pay, which is supposed to be an addition or the balance of the cost of the people who have the licenses to import? That's one. Now, the government itself buys its own wholesale, aside from the one that the people with the licenses buy, which they pay subsidy. Then the federal government now pays to buy its own separate. Now, does that then mean that before now, we've been told that we consume 60 million liters per day? Does it mean then that we consume more than that, that the numbers being imported by the people with the licenses is not adequate, that the government has to buy more at some times, at some intervals in time to meet up with the number? Or is it that it is part of the 60 million that these people are not able to pay for again, that the government is buying to meet up that balance? So sometimes when you hear some of these vague statements, it makes you think beyond what is being said. And then we start to arrive at conjectures, and then we have a lot of facts mixed with fiction, with people's imagination and all that. And then at the end of the day, what it comes down to is that we mistrust governments, right? On Saturday or Sunday, we're having a discussion on social media, and somebody asked a simple question: is there fuel? And I said, yes, there is. But the truth is that we see the queue because now we are selling at 2 different prices. The official price the government has announced, 169.50 to 175 in Lagos, and between 215 and 250. So if you went to a fuel station where they sell at 250 or 215 or 230, you probably might just drive in, buy, go. But if you went to the one where they sell at 169, 170, then you might be the number 200 on a queue of 1,000 cars, right? So in that instance, so what has happened with that is that the moment, that's the the marketers now, what they've done is an open revolt to a government regulation that says, I'm regulating the cost of this thing. This is how much you should sell it. And they are openly selling at the price which is different. And they claim that what they are selling is a result of how they bought it. And they've openly told government, like, look, the only reason I'll sell at 175, which you say I should sell, is if you give me guarantee that this difference, this additional difference that I'm incurring in getting from the depot to my outlet, you will pay me so that the subsidy you are paying me is increasing, right? So when you hear all those things, you begin to ask yourself that why are we waiting till June to remove the subsidy? We have this discussion at least in recent times since 2010, right? We'll remove it, we'll not remove it. There was a time we went out there to go and protest, don't remove it. Okay, so what did we achieve by not removing it then? So if we didn't, well, all those ones are in the past. Now this is the present. The best time to remove this thing is now, not June. Whether we're now going to do it in phases between now and June, or whether we're going to just do it wholesale one time, we need to take this decision. We need to bite this bullet once and for all. You will hear the argument that it's going to increase food, cost of food, transportation, all of that will increase. Yes, it will. But guess what? Where we are today, this same thing you're saying will increase, has increased already because of this thing, that because of this indecision. Food inflation has gone beyond 20 in the last 7-8 months. I think the minimum in the last 8 months has been about 17.9% for food inflation only. Now, put that across to every other thing. So imagine that maybe that's 8 months ago, we started doing the gradual removal of subsidy to date. Who would have been somewhere? The reality would have been clear to all of us. The monies that we claim we are spending here, we will not have the excuse again that we're spending here then. Yeah, we'll be able to push the government to account for, okay, so the money you are not spending on subsidy again. In my opinion, subsidy is just one black hole. Every money that enters it cannot be accounted for. So it's how much they say they spend that they have spent. But if you say that, for example, you tell me today that to build 1 kilometer of road is 1 billion, and you tell me you have built 20 kilometers of road, I will tell you that means you have spent 20 billion, right? Well, can we say that of the subsidy? No, we can't. It's a big black hole. The money just goes. So government can just look and say, we have spent 100 million on subsidy today, and that's it. So this idea that we're waiting till June, don't forget, in June is a new government. Though I'm happy that all the candidates, at least the 4 of the presidential candidates that I've had, they've said it has to go. But then it means that when they come in, they're inheriting a decision that's been made on their behalf. That's their belief. But it's good, okay, that we know that we have to do it. But my point is, let's do it now. Let's start doing it now so that by June or whenever, we'll just gradually go into it.
All right, I've got some messages coming through. JP says, first, the NNPC alone has imported PMS for 7 years. The government is having challenges meeting DSDP payments. Momen doesn't import and sells at approved prices. And IPMAN is a different body. There is a supply gap. Okay, and this one is from Tunji. The subsidy payments to licensed importers is over, and the imports are done through the NNPC. This is why subsidy payments is now called under recovery. The NNPC and those who import on their behalf sell it much cheaper than they buy. All right, let's move on to our next story, and this one is from Vanguard. 23.7 trillion naira ways and means. Senate wants details in 3 days. Now, according to the Senate, it's become imperative for the details to be provided, considering its adjournment of plenary next Tuesday to enable senators to participate in the ongoing elections.
Well, it's a very dicey issue with the expenditure of this country in terms of budgeting. And one of the biggest issues is the deficit issue, what Nigeria is owing in many respects. And one of the biggest debt indicators is ways and means. Ways and means is where the CBN lends to the federal government, like a backup loan, which the federal government is meant to pay back within that year. Usually, the federal government is not supposed to take beyond 5% of their budgets. So let's say for the purpose of calculation, the federal government actually shouldn't have taken beyond 1 trillion naira or 2 trillion naira at most. But in this instance, they've taken over 23 trillion naira. And the problem here is that they've not been able to pay back. So one of the alternatives which has been preferred by the executive is to convert it to a bond, like a 40-year bond. Even though there are issues of legality on this, this issue has been pushed to the National Assembly to be able to legislate on. Now here, the Senate President is informing the Senate that they want to review on this matter. And that they look like they're positioned to vote on it. However, they will need questions answered, information from the CBN governor and the finance minister. So they were saying that there's 6 questions that they need information on, 5 for the CBN governor, 1 from the finance minister. Now, the problem here is this. I have issues with why the Senate president has postured the Senate to be willing to approve this. Because the truth is the Senate, that is the National Assembly, is meant to be acting in the interest of Nigerians. Now, even though you are trying to work in tandem with the executive, how come you did not question the Ways and Means borrowing up to this time? That's issue number 1. Issue number 2, which I believe is on the table, is that even though the intention is to spread the 23 trillion over 40 years, okay, at whatever interest rates, what it's telling you is that the future of this country, Nigerians, born and unborn, are going to be the ones that will pay off what this government spent. So it brings us to the question, what did they do with this excessive spending? What did they do with this overage? What did they do with this additional spending that we don't have? That is the aspect I need Nigerians as a whole to be able to know. Because there's no point at the end of the day carrying on a debt burden that you never benefited from, or that you didn't even know the beginning and the end of the matter. So I really do wish that our National Assembly will use their teeth, will use their tongues to count their teeth, and do not act in haste to be able to pass off a debt burden to the future of this country with something that we don't know about or we cannot even explain. So as a people, I want us to wait. I want us to actually wait to find out what happened to this money, what was it used for, before we even take a decision as to whether we're going to agree to spread it across the next 40 years.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll continue the conversation on the other side. It's freshly pressed, and I see your messages coming through. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 981.
First Bank.
So we'll be back on any minutes.
Hi everyone, this is Ruby Gang, aka Surumi everyone, and you're listening to the Smooth Breakfast Show. Do not touch that dial.
People not working now. We dey wait for manager. Make he come pay us our money now. Because not pay. No. Excuse me.
Comfort this one closer.
Why you dey hide now? Where these people their money?
Yeah.
Why didn't you use the first money wallet bulk disbursement service to send their money to them? I don't forget to use my first money wallet. Maybe when I come closer. Maybe when I bring out on our phone. Oh yeah, dial *894*1# to open your first money wallet account. Oh yeah, maybe when I give money that 3 Boza. Maybe when I give first money wallet the 5 Boza.
Enjoy unlimited bulk enrollment and bulk disbursement with First Money Wallet. Download the First Money Wallet app or dial *894*1# on any mobile phone to activate now. All money now on First Money. You first. First Bank. It's the breakfast crew on your radio.
You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. I've got my analyst Devoe and Olakunle with me this morning. Let us know what your thoughts are. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 981. And we're streaming this live on YouTube as well. So it's on YouTube, just search for Smooth 981, and you can catch the live stream and also post any questions or comments that you might have on there. Now, let's move on to Punch. And this is something that we spoke about yesterday. A bill seeking to amend the NYSC to, among others, make the compulsory national service optional, as well as create more allowances for corps members, and also for someone who graduates at 30 to actually be able to go on there and get a certificate. And it was blocked by the Northern reps.
This is one of the projects, national events that Nigerians have been sharply divided about in the recent times. We've had the history of the killings of youth corps members in various places regarding matters that they have no business or control over. We've had instances of prospective members on their way to the states where they're supposed to serve who have died on the way because of accidents and all that. And these are kind of excuses that people have given to say, look, this thing is not even serving the purpose for which it was set up anyway. So are we continuing thing? It's another of those black holes that we have that we're not accounting for properly. Let's just shut it down. Now, the National Assembly is trying to at least do something, not to, at least for us not to keep doing the same thing the same way and expect a different result. Now, the thing here I see here is that, okay, so, when you're 30, automatically you just get an exemption. You cannot join this youth service. This bill is seeking to say, look, even when you're 30 and above and you just graduate, you may opt to serve. It's also saying that even when you are below 30 and you graduate, you may opt to serve. And it's also saying, look, these guys are graduates. When they join the public service, the minimum wage for the more position you get in public service is level 8. What is the salary of a level 8 officer? And that is what they should get. Those are the 3 items in the matter. And then the words of the act, the current act, they are trying to change some of it that would possibly make the act look some of these sections and intention be open-ended. And so it is not in itself, in my opinion, it is not in itself that because it's NYC that say, no, let's leave it as it is. It is in the fact that the words or the choice of words that they have viewed, the proponents of these amendments have used, that is the issue. And that it's not like they've thrown it out. They've only said, look, go and review this. Let's look at it again, right? And I think that it's important that we get this thing right because we may not have the opportunity to review this NYSC Act again. We need to look at it from the perspective of, okay, so are we redefining the intention of this program? If we are, what is the new one? How well did you do with the old one? We need to take a measure of this thing so that we can know whether it's even necessary at all. Without doing all these things, changing the act would not necessarily serve the purpose of changing it. So you throw more money at it, it has not solved the problem. What you have just done is you have just given young people money to spend. But the real import of it is what exactly do we want to gain out of this? There are some organizations, particularly schools, even in state government today, that their major source of teaching staff, they wait every year for mobilization of core members, and they know they get them over and over again every year. So they are not even investing in keeping in recruiting staff for their own schools themselves anymore. So if that's what we want to do, let's be very clear about what we want to do with it and not just throw money and then be speaking English about it.
All right, I've got some messages coming through, and this one is from Yinka. He says, I'm still not getting it. We keep saying each Nigerian has a debt over their heads, and I don't get it because as far as I know, I have been paying one form of tax to the government or government levy for heaven knows how long. Now on this ways and means money that they have spent, what other alternative do we have if it's not securized?
Yinka,
do we ask the president to pay back or what?
Yinka, the tax you've been paying is not enough. Government has been subsidizing your tax. That's where you have the debt.
Okay, Gilbert Musa says we should plan well for subsidy removal to ensure that there's accountability and transparency in the eventual disbursement. Like what Devoe just pointed out, let the Nigerian government show us proof of what the 23.5 trillion naira ways and means was used for. You can keep those messages coming. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 981. Now let's move on to Premium Times. IMEC chairman speaks on insecurity, attacks on facilities ahead of 2023 polls. Now, INEC facilities across the country since 2019 have been attacked over 50 times, and officials and security personnel injured and killed in some cases.
It's getting how did they say it? Water don't pass Gary now. And I think at this time, citizens will need to own INEC, because week on week, we keep hearing various attacks around the different various INEC offices nationwide. Now, and meeting upon meeting that the INEC chairman is having with the security forces, I don't know, we're not really seeing a result, because right now, I think it's safe to say that there is a direct assault on INEC. There is a direct assault by nefarious forces to ensure that this election does not take place and that many people get disenfranchised. So our whole solution to it is not to sit back and wait to keep hearing reports week by week. Now, here the INEC chairman was saying in a forum that INEC since 2019 has been attacked over 50 times, especially within the Southeast and the Southwest, injuring their properties, the security personnel, as well as some of the equipment that they have. Now, one of the things that he has said is this, and I'm just breaking this story down, despite the fact that they are adopting many other tools to be able to address this, what they've said is that if these attacks continue, that they will be able to recover. That's one thing you should note. However, the time for recovery might elapse the time for election. So what that means is that some locations may not be able to carry out the election simply because INEC has not recovered. And remember, we're speaking in the first story that despite the fact that insecurity is taking place, Nigerian citizens should not allow it, should not even agree to the notion that the election should be shifted or that it should not take place. So this is an all-out battle between the citizens of this country who wish for a democratic future and those who wish to create unconstitutional situations. So what I'm saying here is that if you know the INEC office around your zone, it is your duty to protect it. It is your duty to ensure the same way, like I said, the same protocol we adopted during when insurgency was an all-time high, whereby different communities put up a 24-hour, 7-day week vigilante. You need to do that with your INEC offices. You need to do that with the would-be polling stations. Send a message out. And I'm calling on the security forces to back up Nigerian citizens, because we can't continue like this. If we continue like this, you will then hear somebody whisper that, oh, well, because of all this insecurity, therefore elections in this zone should be shifted. It's not happening. Perish the thoughts. Nigerians, this election is taking place, and we must ensure that all those forces, corruption does not sit quiet. We have to fight it, and they will come at it in different ways to ensure that at the end of the day, the election is scuttled. So I'm hoping that this word gets out there and that we begin to see some kind of resistance to this, arson and vandalization that's taking place with INEC.
But what chance do regular citizens who have no training whatsoever stand against miscreants who may be armed?
That's what we said during insurgency. I thank God that we've had the experience. It's not new, it's not alien. Nigerians have a way of cooperating and collaborating when push comes to shove. And this is a clarion call to do that once again.
All right, I've got a message coming through. This is from Maureen, and she says the proposed change to the NYSC program should be left to the next government to look at. Even the proposal seems to be upside down. Perhaps we need to focus on the February elections. And Maureen also says INEC should not start now to complain about security. Where are they going with this? I hope it's not what we fear. We are all watching. All right, and Yinka says, Devoe, let's make the process of PVC transfer a bit more stringent. Then you will see the people speak out when we see something, because the police can't do it alone. You can't run away from your location because INEC offices are burnt, then transfer your PVC here. All right, well, that's all the time that we have this morning for Freshly Pressed. Thank you so much, Olakunle, and thank you, Devoe, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Do stay with us. There's a lot more to come on Smooth Breakfast.
First
I said Muman. I was supposed to have said Ipman. Muman is major oil marketers. Ipman is impacted marketers. NNPC still tells these people to import for them. NNPC doesn't do the buying itself.